Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Welcome to our big finale, our top 5 movies of the year. We're going to talk about basically what we did is we each made our own individual list of our top 10 movies of the year. Maybe we'll share those on social media. I don't know. You can follow us at So Many Sequels Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok while we still have that. But then we kind of put them all together, made a composite top 5 of the So Many Sequels, top 5 movies of the year. So let's go ahead and recap some of those right now, starting with number 5, which is a movie that we actually covered early in the spring. It was in the spring, which
it was part of A24.
It was part of A24, which was our month of A24 films, and this was Alex Garland's Civil War, made our top 5 movies of the year. It was number 2 and number 8 on our lists, individual list. It was number 8 on my list. It was number 2 on
my
list.
list.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Didn't make David's list. Shame.
No, not my top 10 anyway.
Not in your top 10 anyway. Have any of you watched it again since then?
I have not.
I saw it twice in theaters.
Oh, okay. I don't think I
went with
saw it
Kat.
again. Man, what a heavy movie though. Really
Yes.
Scary. Maybe more so now. Might need to revisit
Yeah.
it.
No, definitely prescient,
Yeah.
is I think one of the words you could use. Movie that really details what a Civil War scenario in the United States could really look like. We see these types of things in our media in terms of other countries around the world have issues with these types of things. Here's what it might look like in the United States. And it was very eerie.
Yeah, I think a big
Yeah.
complaint for the movie was, they didn't really say what the war was about in exact detail. But I just would say if you guys haven't seen it yet and you are intrigued by it, try not to let that stop you, because it's really I promise you do not need to know the exact reasoning to figure out that it's happening anyway.
Yeah, the biggest, I would agree. I think a lot of people thought this movie might be action-y, high intense, big explosions, kind of like
Conspiracy.
if you will, a battleship version, but like Civil War America. And this one really takes you into what it would look like and feel like. We live in a technological age where you would be getting all of this stuff immediately, and like from the journalist perspectives that are out there doing it, that's who you're looking at this from. And so you're seeing it like really intense, and they bring you into the fold in such a soul-shakingly loud way. The way it's shot, the way it's mixed, it was just really well put together. And then, every performance is great. Jesse Plemons in there, and he's making everybody feel uncomfortable. He not in there very long, but he steals the show.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of standout performances. And so this is one that we saw really early in the year, and it never really faded from my top 5. So it was one that I just really stuck with me.
Yeah.
I do think that I want a boom boom Civil War America movie in modern times. I do think that should be met. So,
the movie at its core is an anti-war film.
Oh yeah.
There's no heroes. There's no right or wrong. The movie's not. The director and the movie itself are not concerned with who's in the right as far as the movie. There's no soldiers that you get to know. There's no politicians. You don't see their side of it. You're seeing from the perspective of these journalists that are just covering it somewhat dispassionately. I mean, they're very upset, but they're trying their best to cover it objectively and from a perspective of just giving you the eyes of what's happening. Recording the first documented history, however that phrase goes. And the movie is about the ugliness of war, and that's really at the core of it. So if you're going in there and you're like, oh, well, whose side would I be on? That's not the
you might have already
conversation.
lost if that's the question you're asking.
That's not the conversation. And now we live in a very polarized United States right now, and it would be very easy to go into that movie and think to yourself, well, clearly I would have to be on this side. I would be, but that's not there. That's not what the movie is for. The movie is for analyzing how truly awful a civil war would be in the United States and why becoming so polarized is the problem. Getting to this level getting to this point would be bad.
It would be very bad. Yeah. Number 4 on our list is My Old Ass, which made it on mine and Garrett's list again.
Top 5 for both of you guys.
Yeah, top 5 for both of us. I saw this in theaters. I think actually that this is one of those AMC mystery movies that I went to, not knowing that it was going to be My Old Ass, and then it was. And I really liked it. I wanted to read the Letterboxd thing because I think it's an underseen movie. It stars Aubrey Plaza and Maisie Stella. An 18th birthday mushroom trip brings free-spirited Elliot face-to-face with her wisecracking 39-year-old self. But when Elliot's old ass starts handing out warnings about what her younger self should and shouldn't do, Elliot realizes she has to rethink everything about family, love, and what's becoming a transformative summer. I loved it. It is a coming-of-age story, but it has a little more oomph to it than that, because I feel like a traditional coming-of-age story is that kind of teenage, moving on to either, in this one, it's she's preparing to like leave home and go to college and all that. But you also get this perspective from the same character at an older age that's like a whole other type of coming to age. And it all worked really well for me. The actors were great. It's a unique little film. It's quirky. I just really enjoyed it. It made me cry, made me laugh. My Old Ass. Who knew?
Yeah, it starts. I mean, again, I love a story that knows what it wants to be, and I don't know enough about the back end details of the movie to give anybody credit, but whoever wrote it, whoever had the vision for this, they knew what they wanted to tell, and they knew, because like you can't have this idea if it's just like not something that you've either gone through yourself or you have a really good connection with. And this is a very deep, connected story to someone. Yeah. And you can feel that, and it's portrayed that way too. And they set you up one way, and it shifts a couple of times that you really don't see coming in a really unique and beautiful way sometimes. And so it taps into some really fun things. I can see how it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but it really stuck with me as well.
Yeah, this is one that it's still on my watch list, never got a chance to see. You guys have both given it really high marks. It's currently at 3.5 on Letterboxd, so I think it's got a very real community around it. Aubrey Plaza is always good, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think we mentioned this when you guys brought it up before. Since 2016, we've kind of had a obsession with analyzing ourselves, or self-analyzation, or something like that. You see all these multiverse movies. You see these movies like this, which is kind of a different idea, but having a conversation with your future self. It's a very interesting trend. I wonder how many more years we're going to get movies that are this kind of thing.
I don't know. Probably until we all learn that the actual self-reflection we need to do is inside ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I think all these movies are.
Well, I think the movies are doing it, but I think the movies are doing it because people generally aren't.
Oh, we need yes.
That's what I think it's set. If I may step back and be like existential,
please.
I kind of think that that's the case. I think that that's how society treats art and how art reflects back on us as people. I think a lot of times that what we see in art is a glimpse of what we need to do in the future, if that makes sense. Art and humanity has a weird way of working.
Yeah, it's a mirror.
Which is how I came out of My Old Ass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's what I think. I've never been on a mushroom trip to know if it typically involves you talking to your future self, but it's
I will say there are scientific studies out there doing research on how psychedelics can help veterans and PTSD patients specifically, and so there are a lot of very inspiring stories coming from mushroom trips.
There's absolutely no doubt that
great episode of Muppets Mayhem about this too.
About mushroom trips,
more or less, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to
the
check
band
that
gets
out.
all hyped up. Yeah.
Okay. Mild
Let's
ass.
move on.
Who knew? Yeah, number 3 on our list.
Number 3.
This is that Jackbox? What is that?
I don't know. We're trying it out.
Okay. This was another one that made it on mine and Garrett's list. Challengers came out earlier in the year, starring Zendaya, Mike Feist, and who's the other guy? I don't remember. I gotta look it up in real time. It's a Oh my
I can't
God.
think of his
Josh
name, but he-
O'Connor. Josh O'Connor is his
Oh
name.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
he's
He's
gonna
going to
be
be
in-
in the Wake Up Dead Man. Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. What a movie. Is it about tennis? Maybe. Is it about sexual prowess? Maybe. Is it about
control.
thruples? Yeah. Does it have a bangin' Reznor Ross soundtrack? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it feature the Devil's Triangle?
Yeah.
I don't want to answer that. I don't know what that means. I don't want to say what I thought of. But yeah, Challengers came out in March, earlier in the year. I don't know. It really worked. It fired on all cylinders for me. It was my, I don't know. It was in my top 3. So I enjoyed it quite a lot. I don't even like tennis, really.
Don't
But
need to.
You don't need to. But did you see it, David?
Never saw this. No.
If you do, I would
That's
just
why
say,
it's not in the top.
like, there's a lot of tennis scenes that sure made me intrigued. I was like, well, I'm into this tennis. Is all I can say. Garrett, what is your thoughts on Challengers?
You and I have such a different take on this.
Oh,
I
wow.
hated this movie. I hated it.
Oh,
I
wow.
truly did. Like,
And yet,
it lives rent free in my head. I think about it so often. It's really good.
I'm not sure you hated
I
it.
hated it. I hated every moment because, and I'm going to preface this, but there's no real other way for me to describe this. And we're a family show, so I'll do my best. But I've never hate effed a movie before, and this was that, because that's what this movie was. All of the characters were bad people. They all hated each other, and they all effed each other, and they all effed each other over. It was like watching 3 awful people be awful for 2 hours, and I was just sitting in my seat, hating every moment of it, but thinking, man, this is really, really good.
Don't go see Baby Girl.
Yeah.
You're okay. Well, you're not wrong. I don't disagree with that at all. They definitely are all bad people. I did not hate
But
it. Though.
I mean
Something
that, but
about
they
it.
were meant to be.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were not.
Oh, yeah.
They were there, and so like they all delivered, and that's why I liked it. Is because they all 100% delivered.
Yeah, it made me want to play tennis, and that's all I can say on the family show, I guess.
It was sweaty.
I'll end the challengers portion with the top review on Letterboxd, which I think sums it up great. It's 4.5 stars. Everything is sex except sex, which is tennis, and that is the movie. That is the movie.
And it was a 3.9 on Letterboxd. So I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
probably fair to say this was a popular movie for most people.
And it was number 3 on my list. So again, I liked it. I just, it was not. I just, yeah,
Ain't that how it goes?
It was, but it thoroughly engaged you though.
absolutely.
Sure. I had that I didn't have anything quite that strong of an opinion, but there were a few movies when I was making my list where I was like, I don't think I like this as much as that one, but I have thought about it a lot more, and for that reason, I've ranked it higher. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Okay, number 2, we can finally bring David back into something he's seen and take Garrett out because he has not seen this. Wicked is still huge. It's currently in theaters and smashing records everywhere. It just became the highest grossing musical of all time, passing Mamma Mia. Who knew? Here we go again.
This one of the biggest. Yeah.
This was number 3 on my list, and it was David's number 1 movie of the year.
Number 1.
So maybe you need to start with Wicked. I don't need to tell people what it's about. But how did a musical make it to David Prock's number 1 of the year?
Yes, because famously I'm known to hate musicals, which is not true, let me say. I like musicals quite a lot. I just don't like most musicals. This has been something that's, the way I talked about it earlier in the year, it's been bubbling for years. My wife loves Wicked. She's tried to convince me to watch it, or to at least listen to the music, and I'm like, hun, there's so much context you miss between songs. I need to see
get that.
like either a production or I need to see a film. And here we go, the film. And you know what? I saw the light. I really, really enjoyed this. Honestly, there has been few movies this year where I've had this much fun. Where I came out of the theater and I'm singing the songs to myself. I listened to the soundtrack after, and I'm learning the songs specifically. I learned the one that my wife told me is the one that she's not that crazy about, which is Dancing Through Life. So I just started learning that one. So, and that I did have a blast with that one. But anyway, yeah, I mean, from a production standpoint, from a performance standpoint, it looks amazing. It sounds amazing. I thought Ariana Grande was hilarious. I've seen a lot of people who they don't like her as much, but I thought she was very funny. And Cynthia Erivo, also amazing. Jeff Goldblum's in there as well, and he's very entertaining. Michelle Yeoh is very good in kind of a smaller role. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was the most fun I've had at a theater and after.
I totally agree. I couldn't. There's nothing I disagree with what you said, and I just couldn't not have it in my top 5. I enjoyed it way too much. I've been a Wicked fan. I probably am not at the level of Nikki, but I'm a fairly big fan. I saw it a few years back for the first time. Well, for the only time, and it was great on stage. I was only familiar kind of with a few songs like Popular and Defying Gravity. Because like you, I generally try not to listen to the soundtrack of a Broadway musical because, well, until I've seen it so that I don't miss context. There's some, there's your Hamiltons where basically the whole show is rapped, or Les Mis where the whole show is sung. But yeah, Wicked, you will miss some context if you just listen to the soundtrack. So I loved it. It was great fun, great casting. I saw it twice in theaters. It's out on digital now. People are posting their clips. I don't know if you guys have seen, but Leslie Jones has been posted some clips of her watching it, kind of like when she used to watch the Olympics and post clips of her reacting. She's got some hilarious Wicked takes, so go check her out on Instagram. She needs our plug, Leslie Jones. But Wicked was awesome. Yeah, go see it. Go see it. Do you have any thoughts, Garrett? I know you haven't seen it yet, but are you planning to?
Yes, it's on my list. It's mostly just a casualty of timing and release. Most people get a break around the holiday season, whereas I am very busy and busy as night of the year. So the holiday season has been just super busy. So I haven't had a chance to go to the theater. So it's on my list. I'm like you, David, where I have mostly avoided all of it. Defying Gravity, obviously unavoidable, but other than that, I don't really know much. So, and that is also with intent of like, I haven't seen the show. I haven't, there's not been another way for me to see it. And so until I can, I'm not going to be able to. But I want to get there. I've heard nothing but rave reviews, so I'm excited to learn all about it.
And honestly, to speak to one element of it is that they did split it up at the intermission point. So there's going to be 2 movies, a second movie coming out next year, which will be mostly the second, which will be, I guess, entirely the second act, and probably a little bit more.
I'm almost worried it can't live up to the first one.
I'm a little bit that too, because if it's like most musicals, like Broadway musicals, the second act usually is way more of a bummer, because that's when all the consequences usually come around for what people have been doing. So the first one, it ends at such a high note, and literally and figuratively, that it could be hard for the sequel, the second act, to really follow that. But I thought that I ended up thinking it's a great decision. One of my favorite musicals is Into the Woods, and that movie adaptation is terrible. And I was sitting there after the movie going, maybe they should have split that up, because the second act of Into the Woods is so different in many ways to the first act. Anyway, that's enough about Wicked, but that got a 4.0 on Letterboxd. So I think we're also safe to say that this is one of the more popular movies of the year.
That is good. Yeah, that is good to hear. Yeah, Wicked for Good comes out. I think in the same. I think around Thanksgiving, Christmas again.
November, so Christmas.
Later this year, we will have more of Wicked for Good. Now, our number one movie of the year. I'm very surprised by this and very happy. Personally, this is another one that we didn't all get to see. We had some pretty good diversity in our list this year. We didn't all get to see the same movies, and yet somehow things like this work out. Where our number one movie of the year is Nosferatu, which is another very recent release, came out over Christmas, from Robert Eggers, starring Lily Rose Depp, Bill Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult. Garrett, you go first on this one, because you told us the other day that this wasn't even close. There wasn't a close second in this being your favorite year. So I'd love to hear your take on Nosferatu.
I think that this For me, what I look for in a best movie, it combines a little bit of classic movie making skills and my own personal enjoyment. Obviously, I factor that in there. And this, from top to bottom, seemed to really just smash everything. Civil War is my number 2 movie, and I think that one also did a really good job of both of those things. But the way this was directed, the way that this was shot, and the darkness, the tragedy that was just surrounding it, that's also just kind of my vibe. And so it was, I haven't seen the original. It's on my list to catch up. I've intended to do that before, but I didn't get a chance to. So I really want to see the original and compare it. But like the way that this one was told, and the way the story was told, and the performances were so dark and beautiful. It reminded me of that old Penny Dreadful show on HBO, I think, at that time. And that, it just was so tragic and dreadful. The way that
Penny?
this movie made me feel. Yeah, I left the theater and heard a lot of younger people go, "Oh, that wasn't scary." And they're correct. If you're going into this movie thinking that it is a horror movie, that you're going to get some jump scares or something like that, you're going to be disappointed because this is slow. This is dark. This is tragic. This is going to make you feel really gross. And that's kind of how you're going to leave, too. But, like, man, it is just, you can tell a labor of love from Eggers, and all of the performances were so well done and terrifying. Skarsgård as Nosferatu was, I mean, awful. Just awful.
Hideous.
In a great way. And so, for me, it was just put together in a way, shot in a way. The story was told in a way. It felt like a long movie, but it was so fast. And that, for me, is what I'm looking for in like, my favorite movie. And it really, when I look at this on paper to what was released, while I liked a lot of these movies, I just don't think it was, a close second.
Yeah. I loved it. A great world building, I thought.
Yeah.
This was a lot. There were aspects of this that were filmed in Germany, and in I believe a portion of it was filmed in the same exact castle that the original 1922 Nosferatu was filmed in, which is just one of those things that's like so cool. It almost gives me chills to think that like literally more than 100 years later, they came back and filmed the same story again. This was I watched an interview with Eggers before I saw it, and because I didn't know this, it's a childhood dream for him to make this movie. Nosferatu is what got him into filmmaking, and I feel like I could sense that through the screen. Like you said, it was a very obvious labor of love. A lot of care went into the characters, the setting, the historical accuracy of getting that era of Germany, Transylvania right. I don't want to. Yeah, I almost. People are. You could be spoiled with how Count Orlok looks, so I don't want to talk about that. I was gonna, but that's kind of a reveal that you should see for yourself. But Skarsgård is unrecognizable in the role, both in voice and look. I read that he actually trained with a opera singer to lower his voice an octave so that he could do the voice. Yeah, pretty impressive stuff.
One of because the original Nosferatu was not allowed take on Dracula, right?
Unauthorized,
and so one subtle thing that they changed in this and made a huge difference was, you're so familiar with how vampires suck the blood out of the neck. That subtle change that they make, and I won't spoil it, but it really changes things in a sickening way. It is uncomfortable, it is unsettling, and it is sad. And like, again, that's the intent. You're supposed to feel that. And like, it delivered, and it is just, it is heavy to take in.
Yeah, like last week, I watched the 1922 Nosferatu for the first time, and was really impressed with how much of the story beats remained. Eggers saved a lot of it. Like, there are parts in that original movie where I'm like, yeah, it's a really good adaptation that adds to the story. but also I swear I'm watching it and I'm like, is this like the same shot even? Like it's some parts are that cool. So big love from us, from Garrett and I at least. David, what's your approach to Nosferatu, having not seen it yet?
I'm actually looking forward to it. I haven't seen it yet. This is for me, there was between like this, the Complete Unknown, a couple other movies to see during that Christmas break, and I think I went with the Complete Unknown. But I'm looking forward to this. I've not seen enough of Eggers' work to really have a firm opinion on him. I've only seen The Northman. I haven't seen the Double V Witch or what's the other one he made?
He made The Lighthouse and The Bitch.
The Lighthouse. That's the other one. So, I'm looking forward to it. This, of the ones he's made, that's the one that's the most intriguing to me that I haven't seen. I do think I will see this at some point. I imagine I'll have, based on what you guys have said, it's not like a horror movie that looks out to just like spook you a bunch of times or surprise you. So I look forward to that. And
It's telling a story.
If it's got a good, gothic vibe, and
Def-
I think I could probably rock with it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a 3.9 on Letterboxd right now. So
Nice.
very high opinions across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, that is it. That's our top 5. Our movie of the year is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. We also had some, like I said, we had a lot of diversity in our list this year, so we had some honorable mentions that fit through.
Can I help with something just real quick?
Please.
I want to say I've done some looking here, and I want to mention 2 of our honorable mentions, more or less. The 2 highest reviewed on Letterboxd. So let's start with those.
Okay.
The number 1 movie for 2024, according to Letterboxd users, is Dune Part 2. So, Josh, this made your top 10. Do you want to talk about Dune Part 2 a little bit?
Yeah, so you're telling me that Dune Part 2 is the highest reviewed movie of the year on average for Letterboxd?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's a 4.4.
Yeah, well, so this is great because this is one of those movies where I thought, should this be as high on my list as I think it is, or as I'm thinking right now? And my answer was yeah, because every time I think back on Dune Part 2, I go, wow, it was really cool. It was a really cool movie. Like, the world is just so cool. That movie in particular had some really cool shots, did some stuff I hadn't seen before. So it just sat with me. It sat with me. It may not be a movie that I want to rewatch all the time. I only watched it the one time in theaters, and I certainly haven't felt like super compelled to watch it again. But I think about it from time to time, and always positively. So it couldn't escape my top 10 this year.
I want to chime in because I agree, and that's where personal enjoyment comes in.
Yeah.
Because this movie's rated for me a 4.5-star movie, and it's not in my top 10 because I swear, when I watched it, I was like, this is better than the first one. I'm so entrenched in what's going on and fascinated. But you ask me now, I couldn't name anybody. I couldn't tell you one character's name in the movie. Couldn't do it. Could not tell you. I know they're looking for spice. That's it. That's about all I know. And so there's a problem there, and I'm perfectly fine with admitting the problem might be me. But there's a problem.
I don't know a lot of their names either. I mean, I know Timmy Tim is
One of them is
Paul
Paul.
Atreides. He's the main character. I really couldn't tell you. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his real name. Jason Momoa, Duncan, Idaho. I remember that name because it's
Character's
silly.
name is Duncan, Idaho?
Yeah, that's why I remember it.
That's wild.
Good for you. See, that's more than I remember.
I did also read Dune, but
good for
I
you.
didn't download it all.
I never got around to seeing Dune 2, mostly because I never saw Dune 1. And so there were many points during the end of this year where they were both available on Max. And I thought, do I want to watch 5.5 hours of movies right now? Just to watch both of these. And I was like, no, one out so many times.
You gotta pace it out. You don't want to watch them both.
So I don't know. I will get to it. Eventually, I will join the Dune crew,
Get Dune
the
pilled.
Dune buggy.
Yeah.
What was the other honorable mention you had?
So the other main one. So this is the second highest when you take out documentaries and you take out TV movies in terms of what made our list, especially. The second highest reviewed movie on Letterboxd, or rated movie on Letterboxd, was The Wild Robot, which was one of my top movies of the year. It was in fact my number 2 movie of the year. This was a great animated film. Got a good chance to win Best Animated Film of the Year. Starring Lupita Nyong'o. It's got Pedro Pascal in it as well. It's great. I mean, it's a really good movie, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I won't drone on it too much 'cause I don't think either of you guys saw it, but it's on Peacock now. So
Oh, good.
if you're interested in giving it a shot, it's an animated film that's not obnoxious, not over the top. It's I think I called it in my review. It's the anti-Minions. It is a solid movie. So I recommend it as well. And then I'll turn it loose because there are some other highly rated ones, but we've already got them listed here, so we can just kind of get to them.
Sweet. Yeah, my other honorable mentions for the year from my personal list were The Substance, which was my personal favorite, A Real Pain, Dune Part 2, I Saw the TV Glow, and Anora. All movies I loved this year and would recommend checking out if you get the chance.
Yep, mine were Smile 2, an improvement on the original. Notes
100%.
taken and feedback heard, and they delivered, so good for them. Rebel Ridge is a Netflix original movie, and sometimes those are good, sometimes those are not, and I thought this one was really well told, a little on the longer side, but Don Johnson and, I can't remember his name, but he was just cast as Green.
Aaron
Yes.
Pierre or Pierce?
Aaron Pierre. I think there's another name in there, but maybe not. But I think it was Green Lantern in the DC universe now, so that'll be fun to see that. Really good movie, very tense.
Yeah, I like that too.
And then Blink Twice with Channing Tatum and Haley Joel Osment and a bunch of really interesting performances. A friend of mine described it, and what got me intrigued was like it was Get Out for women, and I would agree with that. So it was
directed by Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz, that's right. Yes.
So my honorable mentions for the year, this is kind of the rest of my top 10 here. The Bike Riders, really like that. That was cool guys doing uncool crimes, but like that a lot. Deadpool Wolverine made my list, just a ton of fun. Another one of those movies that like I watched it and then like I could not stop hearing bye 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 for the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
This is a movie that I found really fun, Hitman, starring Glenn Powell. This came out on Netflix. He plays a character who basically becomes a professional hitman of sorts. Not really killing people, but like basically getting people in trouble for trying to kill people. Anyway, very fun. It reminded me a lot of Bernie, which is written by the same guy who wrote Bernie. Anyway, Fall Guy also maintained in my list. Had a bunch of fun with that. Ryan Gosling earlier in the year. Inside Out 2. Conclave was one of my top movies of the year. We talked about that in our wrap the other week. And then Juror Number 2, starring Nicholas Hoult, also had a lot of fun with that. That came out here just towards the end of the year.
Excellent, yeah. So if any of those speak to you, they got our recommendations. Go check those out wherever they may be available to stream or watch. What about the worst? Everybody got a worst. What was the worst movie you saw this year that you at least like kept record of? Mine was Drive Away Dolls, which...
That was an early one for you.
It was an early one, but it also... I couldn't even say anything about it. I just don't even remember it. It was bad. It was not good. Did not like.
Wouldn't recommend.
Wouldn't recommend. I can't even think of a joke to make fun of it. Next.
You know, Garrett, I feel like yours had a high bar.
It didn't.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't go into movies comparing them that way. That's not fair. For me.
You're right.
Just before we get into the discussion, my least favorite movie that I had on record this year was The Crow, the remake with Skarsgård and Twigs, I believe, is the actress's name. But The Crow is a movie that I watch every year for Halloween, Devil's Night, if you will. And I was not going to go in and compare them. It's just not fair. It's not the same thing. They're doing something different. So I was like blank slate, and it was still bad. It was just bad. It was boring. I'm sure there are a few people who are going to see it and they're like, teens, and they're going to be like, wow, this speaks to me. And I'm glad that they have that. But it was really bad. It was just not entertaining at all. And I'm not even comparing it to the source material. Like, it was just not good.
Fart noise. My bottom 5 to 6 is all pretty rough, but no movie was as egregiously bad. And this is not necessarily original. This is not going to be an original take. No movie was as egregiously bad as Madam Web. It was painful to listen to. Everybody in this movie is delivering the most wooden dialogue. The main character is the most unlikable, and like sometimes you can have a hero character that has some unlikable traits. This is just plain unlikable character who can't open a Pepsi can to save her life. It's so tragically bad. So yeah, Madam Web was a terrible. That was my stinker of the year.
Yeah, did not get to that one. Probably
That's interesting because I never saw The Crow or Drive Away Dolls. Did Russ, did you see
Nope.
The Crow?
didn't. I don't know that we saw each other's worst movies at all. I don't think any of us saw
Shouldn't.
each other's. But I guess
Don't
that
go
is
see it.
true. That is what should make it the worst. Is that only I had to see it. Only you had to see it. We didn't have to share it with the rest of the
I
show.
wonder what our worst shared movie is.
I know that would be fun to figure out. So, obviously, like we might talk about our most anticipated movies of the year later on. So nothing real specific, but like, what are you guys looking forward to in the year? Is there anything specific or not specific? Sorry, I just said not that. Movie wise, entertainment wise,
Yeah.
podcast wise, what are you looking forward to?
I'll tell you something not necessarily movie, like specific movie related. I'm looking forward to Conan O'Brien hosting the Academy Awards.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
That will be fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing how these movie theaters upgrade. You know, allegedly they're going to have a bunch of facelifts going on. I'm interested to see if there's a lot of big movies coming out. If they give you other places to go, will people spend more time at the movie theater?
Yeah, I hope that we get one of those in Tulsa. I
That
hope
would be
that the
great.
upgrades make it to Tulsa. AMC, please. If you could do that, that would be great. Yeah, those are both really good ones. I'm looking forward to those too. I think I'm looking forward to seeing like what, if anything, is going to be like a big surprise movie wise. Is anything going to come out that kind of like blows people away or ends up being a bigger hit than anyone expected? Will there be any like Barbenheimer type combos? That's what I'm looking forward to, seeing if anything, just what surprises lie in store that we might not even expect. There's always something, I feel like.
There's always
There's always
I
something.
mean, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that Wicked would be as big as it was.
I actually, yeah, I agree. I did not think Wicked would be as big as it is. I actually feared the opposite because, like, I thought In the Heights was going to be huge and it flopped hard. And same director
and there was a tremendous amount of
hype, and I loved it
hype
personally.
and too much like the standard, was so high that like tons of people could have come out and just go, not as good as the play.
That's what I
Terrible,
really
you know what I mean?
was afraid that people would be like, Wicked, man, whatever, plays better. But pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
So that's fun. All right, well, good. Those are good things to look forward to. We are going to take a short little break from the show for a few weeks, so you have that to look forward to. Please subscribe though if you haven't done that yet. Like I talked about in our last episode, we are really like trying to do more with YouTube. It's been a really fun thing for us to do. So if you are into the podcast, consider subscribing to the YouTube version. Hopefully we can do even more with that this year. We'll see. That's what we're going to spend some time talking about over the next few weeks, is kind of planning for the year ahead. So we're still super into talking about movies with you guys. So hopefully you'll stick around for another year with us. We would love to have you. You can go to SoManySequels.com and you can get links to our social media channels. You can get all of our past episodes there. Hopefully we're going to have more there. I was going to tease that a little bit. Hopefully we can build out a website, have some more stuff for you guys. All that's coming. All that's being worked on and talked about. If you have any ideas, something you think we should do, or something we shouldn't do that we've been doing, let us know. You can drop us a line on our Instagram, Threads, TikTok, whatever. You can find all those at SoManySequels.com. All right. Any final words from you guys for the end of the year / beginning of the year?
It was a great year. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to do another season of So Many Sequels.
Yes.
I should announce that I quit.
Oh no, no!
Well,
Two-man show.
in that case, we have an opening. Nah. All right.
No,
well,
I'll be here.
We'll see you guys very soon with more movie discussion. Can't wait.